Ha! I'm starting with an exhale. This is Laura Jane back with Stephanie Bradley, and we are offering our very own podcast. This is number 2, and we're finding ourselves calling this more like ever evolving. And then we get to kind of put a topic after that. So today we're excited to talk about ever evolving and when you're pissed, when we're pissed. So welcome here, and so honored to have you giving us your attention. Hello, and Stephanie, do you want to say hello?
Good morning. Hello. I'm so glad to be back there with you and addressing this super important coping mechanism that I think we all can use.
Yeah, and that's why I know doing something with you, I'm so excited to get into this with you, because I feel like you have been, not even trying to be, but to me you've been such a leader in our community, like live and online, with your sharing of just a fresh understanding of some of these approaches with maybe some of more of our fiery parts of ourselves and our intensity and our passion, and even things that might feel like anger and rage and fear. And I love what's been coming through as you've been in your own path, and I've been learning through you and with you. So I'm just so glad to have you here, and thank you for doing all that brave work so far.
Thank
to
you
be
very
sharing.
much.
Yeah, and even just with your having created your dark poetry stories is such an example, too, that I think you've been finding a beautiful way to express and transmute and let it be something that's empowering you as you've been just rolling through life like we all have, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fantastic outlet, especially when I'm feeling sick.
Yeah, right. And is it for you, is it almost sometimes you may not have even gotten to the page or actually writing the poem if you hadn't been pissed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh. Yeah.
Absolutely. So kind of, taking that power back from anger, and for me, putting the energy of it, even though I might be feeling angry, what I say, what I write, it does sound aggressive. It is rechanneling that energy for me and putting it out on paper. It's honoring it, but not acting out on it in a way that harms anyone else, that's at least a negative to anyone, or even myself.
Wow, yeah. Good distinction. Yeah, and that's such a great reason, isn't it, to look at this topic and to keep looking at this. Because when we're pissed, we maybe in the past, and maybe a lot of us have gotten to a place where we've hurt ourselves or others in various ways. And that, unfortunately, seems to just make us more pissed, probably.
Well, yes, because then we hold anger against ourselves.
Yeah, right. And that just builds that momentum. And I'm even noticing how much, usually when I'm pissed, it is that I'm pissed at myself, even if I really think it's someone else. But that's what I love that you and I get to look at with our looking at triggers as a chance to notice truths about our current selves and also to resolve things. But, yeah, that seems to be an undeniable truth. I keep noticing how much it comes back to our relationship with ourselves. But, yeah, when we're pissed, how much of that is being pissed at ourselves, and then the ways that we handle it, how is it affecting that whole pissed at ourselves situation? So, yeah, what do you think more about that?
Well, I think that, anger is a secondhand emotion. It comes from a root-based self-fear, it's hurt, sorrow, those are all triggers for anger for me. So for me, sitting in it and maybe not reacting right away, which is hard. It's the hardest self-wrestling that I ever do is taming myself a bit and holding myself back when I'm angry and I feel that righteous indignation at something or something. And going back and finding, am I afraid of something? Am I scared of something? Has something broken my heart in this? Like, where is this root? And that generally changes the focus of my anger back into exploring myself. Where does this come from me?
Yes. And that right away shows how being pissed can be actually such an invitation into ourselves to start to look at what's really going on. And that seems so huge, and that really feels new to me, what you just said, to look at anger, that it's a secondary emotion, and it's always sprouting from something even more primary or primal, and how much just starting to look at that and be with that and explore that can already shift it, and that it could actually lead us into more connection with ourselves. Yeah, so being pissed is like a trigger with ourselves, for ourselves, even though most of the time we thought it's someone else, though. Isn't that so interesting? That when we really get so focused on how it's someone else that we're pissed at, which it often still could be, right, that it's someone else who triggers that. So how have you worked with that when you feel like it's about someone else, and maybe there's a truth there too, right, and an honoring and a change you might make in relationships because of what you're noticing. And then, tell me what's coming through for you on that.
For me, what I've started to do now, rather than react, I have a long, somewhat embarrassing history of having a quick temper. In hindsight, it feels a little bit like, maybe that wasn't best for us. At the time, I've always thought, well, I had a right to feel that way. And on paper, maybe I did in many circumstances. But changing that energy and going more into oneself and saying, where is this affecting me? What's the root here for me? What's my reaction based on? Where is that root based on? Going in and addressing that. I feel like it shuts down a lot of my reactions to someone else who may very well be infringing upon me in some way, shape, or form. But how much I allow that to affect me is really what I'm concerned with, how I'm reacting to someone. Am I keeping my boundaries? Am I crossing my own boundaries that I've given myself of not becoming, I'm giving myself boundaries about just how heated I will allow myself to get before I check myself, remove myself, maybe take a moment to regroup in that situation. And really holding those boundaries firm for myself, regardless of where someone else might want to be continuing to engage with me.
Yes. To kind of take responsibility.
Right. Saying to someone, I need a moment to discuss this, or I'm feeling very angry, and I'm going to sort that out for a second. And then holding firm to that, not allowing somebody to cross those boundaries, and not allowing yourself to react in an over-the-top way, has been a massive exercise for me and has been incredibly beneficial. In the way that I look at relationships, in the way that I look at other people, in the way I see conflict with others outside of myself. Because I'm an observer in the world, and I notice a lot of that. I've seen it around in a few different spaces, more than one, more than two, more than three, more than four. That's the world. And watching the way, maybe what other people's tools they use or don't use or don't possibly access has been really fascinating to me recently.
Yeah, I love that, just to be observing the various approaches and what's working for people and what may not seem to be working for people around us as we're figuring it out for ourselves. And for you, I know you've already brought up, I love some of the ways you're talking about it as energy too, and even talking about it as like feeling heated and like how, at what point did you start to bring in your awareness of it as also an energy thing going on and start to even address it even more as energy too? Because I know you've got a lot of cool things you do in that realm.
I come from a long line of women who are easily heated.
Or what's that? Easily heated. Yes.
Easily heated, righteous indignation, and firecracker.
Yeah.
My grandmother was one, my mother is one, I'm one, all of my children are. So I would say, for me, taking that, my grandmother passed away a number of years ago, and in my practices, I do a lot of remembrance and honoring of my ancestral life, and really looking back and looking at the history for myself and for my family and for the ways that we have generationally dealt with anger and our reactions to it, and how I can see the benefits in some of it and how it has strengthened, and I can see the negatives in the ways that it weakens. And being able to have that hindsight has been phenomenal for me, because I see all the passion, I see all the power in this generational line. For my sister, just speaking for myself, and I see how we have misused it in so many ways. Coming from a space of not having the tools. My grandmother didn't have the tools. My mother didn't necessarily have the tools, the outlets. Podcasts to listen to, books, like what we have at our fingertips now is amazing. Those before us did not have that. So for me, realizing that how much energy is exerted in anger was my number one. Because I feel drained. I feel absolutely drained afterwards. Emotionally, physically, I really don't have a lot to give. I'm sure you continue the short temper or the lack of energy. It can fold into days, weeks. At times it can make you really ill. And realizing that I channel that energy somewhere else, because it is mine. It's my energy, and I'm the one that says where it goes. And learning that my energy didn't have to control me. That I have a choice. I don't have to react seriously. I don't have to react aggressively. I don't have to bite someone's head off. Now, do I still do that occasionally? Yes. I'm working at that, but they've gotten so much farther apart, and my reaction time has been so extended, and the thought process behind it as well. It's a highly political climate. We are in a very free, open, eclectic way of living and raising our children and relationships, and there's many areas of conflict. So finding a way for myself, especially, bringing the children and the relationships into it, is finding a way of using that energy for something more positive, for something that brings something productive back to me. And it's such a great example for our children and for our partners and our friends. Yeah.
Yes, it's like so important to remember how we're affecting others and modeling for our children. And I love that, how looking at it as an energy, but also taking responsibility for it as our energy, and it becomes our job to respond and handle it and manage it and redirect it, or and really choose how we're going to respond when we're noticing that energy in ourselves, and then how we're going to wind up expressing that to others is so affected by how we respond, right?
Yes, and standing that ground and holding those boundaries doesn't mean you have to smile and say no problem. Not having anger behind it. I really think that there are times where we need that. We need that anger when we're protecting ourselves, when we're protecting people we love, when we're protecting our homes. I think that it's there for a reason. We're able to access those emotions and use it. And I think that there is so much good to come out of our anger when we dig into it.
Yes, right? And that
embrace it a little bit.
The new news. Yes, and that actually may help us be less stuck in it, right? Because I think we all got to know the story of people who seem to just get chronically pissed, and maybe you get stuck in it or something, and then you're just like that. And so we all, maybe a lot of us got afraid of letting ourselves feel pissed because, like, you don't want to get stuck in it or build some momentum of it. But maybe instead to really let ourselves go into it, look at it from these perspectives, and really ready to address it within ourselves is such the answer. And then actually probably the answer to not staying chronically pissed. And, it's just so interesting how it so helps to shift that look inward, even if it was the looking outward that got you pissed, you thought, right? Whatever you noticed or experienced, that it still can become using it as a reason to once again go within, check out more of what's going on for us, and resolve some more, right? And realize some more and become even more who we are. And yes, to realize what our boundaries are and really just strengthen that relationship with ourselves. Really, it just keeps blowing me away with how much that's the truth, to me, how much our relationship with ourselves is just the foundation for it all. And and I was really noticing that for myself in feeling pissed lately when I had, like I was telling you today, I got up and I was like pissed about some things, just with like finances and things, and just, but I see that it's inviting me in to really realize, how I'm pissed at myself in various ways, and how that actually has been part of like a drain on my energy and not helping, because I've had a tendency in the past to, direct it towards a pissedness at myself. I didn't even know it, but I sure knew I didn't feel good, right? So, and then it does really help me to address it as energy, because like this morning, I knew it meant, okay, I need to sit and do my just sitting meditation and really listen within and feel into more what's going on. And then after that, it's like, okay, now I know I could go for a walk and keep listening to myself, but also be shifting my energy along the way. And then got home, okay, now I know I'm going to get on my mat, because even a little bit more. And so it's helped me a ton to have my ways to address my energy and to do that more like daily, like you and I were, just reflecting on a little before this call. So that's where it becomes exciting too, to think of preventatively even tuning ourselves so that we stay, I don't know, and maybe just the awareness, right? The more that we're just aware of what's happening with us, the more, and then just finding ways to be aware, not even but the awareness is part of the self-care, right? To find ways to stay in awareness with yourself is part of like a therapeutic shift, right, in life. What else do you want to say on some of that?
I was thinking about when we were talking about anger, the first thing that came to mind is, for me, was how pissed I get politically. Yeah, right. I really do. I really get pretty heated. And I've learned I really have learned in this last year that I've had no choice but to separate my emotions from it as much as possible and limit my exposure to the nonsense as much as possible. And I really don't go off and lose it. I was so angry for so long at what was happening, and I had to do that. So, okay, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm yelling at people on the internet. What is going on with me? So I sat down and I started thinking about that, and I realized that, for me, it was based in fear. It was all fear. It was fear for my children. It was fear for my family. It was fear fear for the detachment that had happened. I already have, some disconnection within family ties, and this took that even farther. So it started triggering like abandonment issues. There were so many things that I realized, okay, this isn't about someone saying something stupid or racist or shitty on the internet. This is about you being fearful. So going in and saying, okay, how can I create stability and security around these issues for myself? And then, I did the personal steps that I needed individually in there. Do as much as I can. I can't make myself 100% safe in the world, but I can know that I have safety mechanisms. I can know that my children are protected in certain ways, that I can distance myself from relatives who perhaps aren't on the same page as me without animosity and just separating all of that, keeping at a distance with boundaries, those sorts of things. And it changed my days. It changed my outlook. If I could find one thing in a Facebook post, I realized 4 hours later it's still in my head, and I still was so upset about it. So it helped me to let go. Exploring my anger, finding out where it came from, and then giving myself some mechanisms to rely on in those situations. Do I still think people are really shitty and stupid? Absolutely. But it does not affect my life anymore. Yeah. Which is huge.
Right. Like that's like a big why. How much is how we're handling our anger affecting our lives and our relationships and our health.
And our health, yes. Anger is ugly and it makes you sick.
Yeah, and it's, but I love how your process of knowing to look for what's underneath it, and then when you realize it was the fear, to start to look at, do I want to feel afraid? Do I choose to? Do I really feel afraid? And then as you decided, no, I don't want to feel that way, and no, I don't even totally feel that. Like, I don't even fully feel fear, right? And so that you then said, okay, I'm going to flip that, which is really like a totally like yogi thing to do, to like literally flip the mind. But I like that you're showing how you do it from a place of choice. You're not just like, oh, I'm afraid, so I should now say, okay, I'm safe and protected, and do these affirmations even if you don't believe them, right? Because I think that doesn't work either, but that you really looked at yourself like, no, I really don't want to feel that way, and I really don't actually feel that way, right? Like, when you really feel like your truest self, you probably do feel a good faith and things like that, right? So to then say, okay, so now I know my job is to build in that feeling more, and that's going to address my anger reactions, because it was actually about fear, which I don't even really believe in anymore, right? That's where it sometimes is going to show us our belief systems, right? So gosh, it just can be such helpful inner work. And then I think it's so interesting with, like, even what we saw happen in the last year with the elections in the United States, and how that collectively, the anger people have felt on various sides, has even collectively gotten people going more inward and looking at what they want to be doing differently, and maybe taking more action, or, just more clear in what's important to them. So it is even a trigger, right, that's kind of resolving some love wounds for the collective, even as, we feel like we're still in the heated midst of it. And that's really interesting, too. I think maybe that's kind of what some of what might be neat to bring up the last bits here is collectively energy stuff. I don't know, what's your current approach with an awareness of what may be going on collectively, whether it's like energetically with the astrological elements and such, or even just what is actually happening it's all the same, right? Which is what's happening collectively. How much are we affected by that, and how much are we even helping with that with our personal work? I guess both sides are kind of cool.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I think that in general, all over the world, I think there really is an awakening. Some people will call it a spiritual awakening. Some people will call it a mental awakening. Whatever it is, people are waking up. And a lot of people don't really know what to do as they're waking up. And, it is scary. And if you are not ready and you are not doing this self-work, it just gets scarier, and the reactions become reactionary. I'm scared, so I'm acting out in this way and in that way. Collectively, honestly, I think the best thing we can do is be an example of continued communication, respectful communication, honoring the space that we're all in and we all occupy.
Yes.
We all have a right to our opinions and our feelings. We don't have a right to hurt one another. We don't have a right to insult one another. And when we see that, we need to address that. Collectively, I think we're not all always going to get along. We're not all going to be on the same page. You know, we're all very different, and especially in, you know, the lives that we live with homeschooling and whatnot and unschooling. It's very, people do things in very different ways, and I think respecting everyone's right to live their lives the way they're choosing to, and respecting one another even when we don't agree, and really making a commitment to peaceful conflict resolution is the only way this is going to work. Otherwise, it fractures off. But everybody's got to be on that page. Otherwise it's fractured off. You get these breaks, and then these pieces are gone, and there's no more collective. There's separation.
Yeah, right.
And it's broken. It's broken at that point. The great part is that the healing can always be done. We can always work on our shit, and we can always evolve. So gathering those pieces together, being an example, holding our boundaries with one another and ourselves, and continuing the effort of the collective greater good, even if we don't all agree, I think, you know, my life is different than many people's. Other people live their lives in a way that perhaps they may have judgment on mine, you know, as we said, releasing judgment. I try really hard not to. I can still be guilty of it sometimes as well. But I think that when we start recognizing those spaces and saying, maybe am I being a little judgmental? Or, you know, is this something that I would be okay with somebody doing to me? I think we start to forget that. And we're teaching our kids how to do that. Yet I'm not really seeing so many adults in the community practicing what they're preaching. So tuning back in, refocusing, cleaning up the communication, and holding our boundaries. And that's going to heal the collective world.
Yeah, and I'm even thinking like how often, too, when we're calling out something in someone else, it's so often a mirror for us, too, right? It's so often something we're even saying to ourselves. So it's, like you just said, and it's funny because Kyle Cease just made a video a couple days ago, which is like a big shift that's so important, was like how often we'll just keep looking for the world to change outside of us. And they should change. And so often we need to be taking our own advice, you know, and just living from that place of our own advice. And that's actually what's going to change the world instead of trying to get the rest of the world to change, you know. So it's just interesting how probably so often when we're thinking we see something outside of us that's triggering us, that it's so often a mirror, and again can just be a chance to really go within, look at it, work with it, what's really underneath it, and then it so changes the dynamics, right? Like within ourselves and within our communities. And I think what you bring up is also so important with if we all just, me too, really just honored, like, oh my gosh, we're all so different. You know, like instead of looking,
and isn't it
which
great?
is so interesting. Like, isn't that connecting? Instead of thinking like we're going to feel more connected if we all become the same, it's more like we can build our connection by honoring that we'll never all be the same, and isn't that beautiful? And really loving that, and just like then every person we meet, like expecting they might be completely opposite of us, you know, instead of looking for them to be like us. And again, I think the more that, like, I can see for myself, the more that I get comfortable and even loving who I am, the less I'm going to need to, like, look at others to be like me to feel a sense of satisfaction.
Yes. Yes. I drew a card for us while we were
talking. Oh, goody. Perfect.
So I want to read that before I forget. And I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly. The Hierophant. The Hierophant is a spiritual ruler or God-like figure. Learn by your experiences. The path of life is a spiritual journey, and we learn as we go along. Widen your breadth of vision. Make up your own mind about which path you should take. Sometimes it helps to see others' points of view and learn by their mistakes. I love when that happens.
Holy crap, that's so perfect. I love that, and it's just that alignment, and to remind us, especially as we remember to get into this as like a spiritual experience and ourselves on this spiritual path, and we're all beings that, you know, have these unique spirits within us, right? And that kind of approach is what we're talking about and going for, right, for ourselves, and just you and I, right from where we're at in our lives. And I'm hoping, I want to say that advice myself, like not to try to just tell everybody else to be like that, but for us to share, what we're noticing when we're letting ourselves be more like this, right? And then, sure, wonderful, beautiful, and that can be inspiring or helpful to others, right, through this podcast. But I think I love what's coming through, and I feel like it's a new and renewed approach to feelings, and especially these hard feelings, but the good reason to not avoid them or deny them or repress them or numb them, but, that they're here to help us because they're part of that spiritual path and the spiritual growth.
Yes,
right?
There's a lesson. There's a lesson in the anger.
Yes, wouldn't that be so cool if we started to be like, oh, goody, I'm mad. What am I going to learn now? Oh, I feel like shit. I must be about to realize something really cool. And actually, of course, you know, that is even I think it's Michael Beckwith will say, like, what's trying to emerge in me that's always been there, but I've never known before or something. So, to really start to have that be the inquiry when we're in anything, like, okay, what's emerging? What am I getting to resolve here?
What am I giving birth to now?
What's today's resolution and birth? And even just this idea that a friend mentioned the other day that we're always creating something, you know, like in our moments. We're such creators. So to really just be really conscious with what we're creating with our time and our energy and what we choose to do in our days and how we do handle ourselves. It's, deep, important stuff.
Well, I'm not mad about it.
Yes. No, let's not be pissed about being pissed.
Being happy about being pissed. There we go.
Right. Feeling better about being pissed. Yeah, and again, I think you know this is such a shift for me after, and even still, I almost now take it as an insult when people tell me I'm so positive. I'm like, oh, crap. I really don't think that's like a compliment anymore, even though I know people mean it as a compliment. But it's, because I really am not trying to be positive anymore, and I don't even want to tell anybody else, you do just be positive. And I really, I'm not into the talk of like positive and negative, because it just doesn't feel right to me anymore. So but to me, to even let myself be pissed and even show that side of myself is new. And I'm so thankful because, this is right where my heart is learning right now. So thank you for being someone I'm learning with and from.
Thanks for including me and for being my friend.
Well, it looks like it's been just maybe a little over 30 minutes, so we could call it to a close. Anything you want to say as we're concluding?
Oh, no, just, keep on holding those boundaries for yourself and for others. Digging in, sitting in it. there's so much to learn on the other side of it. Every time.
Yeah, and I think even boundaries when we're holding boundaries from a more peaceful, loving place.
Yeah.
The energy of that for us, right? Because like you were mentioning, it's so draining to feel angry. And it's also, I can see it getting draining if you feel like you're going out into the world with all these boundaries, right? Like that are from fear and hate.
Yeah.
So, but to see boundaries as like this loving creation that's like this beautiful, like, trellis you've created, right? Like, I really like this boundary, and I have that one. And like, but the more that we actually know them, probably, the better we can be in the world. So yes, to actually know what they are and to create them with love instead of like, oh shit, you help me see one of my boundaries, right? And
right.
That's how we find our boundaries. So maybe it is at first how we find them, but yes. So
holding those boundaries with love instead of fear. Yeah, sure.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm learning right now. So yes, thank you. And I'm so thankful to do this with you, and thank you for listening with us. And if you want to get in touch with us or leave any comments or some of your thoughts, there's always room for that with these YouTube videos, and we'll make ways you could reach us if you want to. And thanks for listening. All right. Namaste to you all, and thanks for being real for us, ever evolving, even when we're pissed. All right. Adios.
Bye-bye.